stuff. But we have to get back to the point to where when we do get married, that we're continuing to train and learn and study to show ourselves approved, so that we'll know what we're in and what we're doing, so that there can be some longevity to it.
Yeah, because even with marriage, you want to make sure that you stand up on your understanding of it, because it don't really matter if you've been doing it for a long, long time. I mean, you're going through different type of situations all the time, so you never know what can happen. So you need to have that up to date knowledge and understanding of that particular field, which is a marriage, because it, you know what I'm saying, stuff can fall apart if you don't stay on point. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
And then the beautiful thing about it is, like how you were saying, is that we evolve as individuals, and who we were when we got married, what, almost 11 years ago, who we were 11 years ago, we are not those same individuals. And we continue to study. You always are in, you're always studying love and marriage and stuff like that, because we can't continue to just use what we used 13, 14 years ago when we first got together before we got married. It's like you got to continue to educate yourself. And we're firm believers that if people continue to educate themselves, according to the word of God, what marriage is about, then more marriages would be successful, more marriages would be healthier, more marriages would be able to be fruitful and multiply more. When they begin to reproduce and have offsprings, then your children will be a multiplication of a healthy marriage. And it all starts in seed form.
Yeah, you know, it's just like I said, it's just crazy how you can get caught up in you feeling like you know what I'm saying, you know your mate, you know your spouse and everything, and so like you can kind of drift away and feel like okay, everything is always going to be the same. But to be honest with you, as you continue to function and move forward in a marriage relationship, people do change.
Yeah.
People do evolve into different people. I guarantee you, we are not the same people that we were when we first got together. The things that we expected of each other, my expectations have changed
Right.
For her, and definitely her for me. You know
Right,
what I'm saying?
right.
Depending on the different level of knowledge and that we have acquired over the years. So it should be a different level of expectation. Not to the point to where it's unachievable, but definitely, over the years, like as you move through school, it's a different level of expectation as the continuous education that you have. And so it was funny something that he was saying. He was saying people gotta understand, love is not gonna keep your marriage together. That sounds crazy when he first was saying it. It's like it sounds crazy, but if you really break down and really understand what he was saying that the way you know love,
Come on.
it's not. I'm like, if that was the case, most people get married for love, and I'm like, well, like that makes sense. Most people be like, oh, I love this person. We've been together for a while, and so you know what I'm saying. Let's make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
But if you really think about it, your understanding is gonna get you. What's gonna get you through your understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much love, because when you really think about it, most of us we connect love with our feelings.
Right.
And so therefore, that's why you can feel in love with somebody today and feel out of love with them the next day. So therefore, where we are today, all the stuff that I put her through and all the stuff that she possibly put me through, is we are still here because of understanding.
Right.
It ain't because of love.
Right.
I'm like, if we base it us being together just based off love, we wouldn't be here. Mm-hmm. We had to acquire the right type of understanding from the word to be where we are.
And tell them about that illustration that Dr. Miles Monroe gave when he was asking, "Do you love them?"
Oh yeah, man, that was funny to me because he asked the guy. He was like, so do you love your wife? And he was like, yeah, man, I love my wife, but she crazy, man. That's why I don't believe it's gonna work. That's why I don't want to be with her. So he was like, all right. He ended up asking the wife, so you love your husband, don't you? And she was like, yeah, I love him, but he just don't do right. Like he just don't do right. So I guess he was saying over, him doing counseling over the years, nobody ever really said that they didn't love the person that they was with.
Mm-hmm.
So he was really trying to make it like bring to your understanding, love ain't gonna just do it. Mm-hmm. And I believe that I know that agape love will. There's a difference
Right.
between the way you love
And the
God type of love
Right.
that's out there. Like that's available. That's different. Because when I really think about love, like I always tell her, I said people really think that you just know how to love somebody just growing up. Like you just grow up and it's just in you to just do it.
Mm-hmm.
The capability for you to do it is there, but it has to be learned out of you. That's something that I learned from my pastor, that there are some things that have to be learned, that be pulled out of you by teaching, by you learning how to do it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And then too, you got to think about too, especially when you come together as individuals, come from two totally different worlds. Even though you may be from the same ethnic group, his belief systems may not be my belief system. So then there's a clash of belief systems. And then when you come from a background where your caregiver wasn't providing you the type of love that you were needing to nurture and grow healthy, then you have this individual who grew in that type of environment. Those things clash. And that's why it's good to know the God type of love so that you can erase and start all over. That's the beautiful thing about having a relationship with God, is that you can start over fresh and you can get his way of doing things.
I'm going to tell you why it's good to learn how to do it the way God tell you how to do it. I'm going to tell you why. Because that's the one, then you on one accord.
Yeah.
When you growing up and learning how to love, baby, kind of what you're saying, okay, depending on how I grew up, this how I'm learned. That's how I learned. I learned that love was, okay, you can have as many women as you want, but and lie to them, and then you showing them love because you ain't keeping them 100 with them. But I'm lying to you because I love you and I don't want to hurt your feelings.
Right.
That's what I learned. That's what I learned what love was. Now coming up the way she learned it, it's different.
Yeah.
So you got two different views of love.
Because my version was I had mommy issues, I had daddy issues, so I wanted to please you. I was a people pleaser. I didn't want you mad at me because that stemmed back from my childhood. And so my view, the lenses that I was looking at of love was to please you and make sure I don't make you mad by any means necessary. And I'm like, that is so toxic. It's so toxic. And it's just like when we both got an understanding of God and his word, it was like, whoa, your method of love ain't love. My method.
Hey, I'm hitting with that. Hey, boy, girl, I love you. That's why I lie to you. I don't love them. That's why I tell them the truth.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's all twisted. But it goes back to your lack of understanding, your lack of knowledge, and then not doing that continuous training in the word of God to, stay a course so that you won't be off in left field. That's why it's so important.
To renew your mind.
That part.
Every day.
That part.
I was like, that's one of the, like, if you can really grab that part of the kingdom as far as renewing your mind daily, I'm like, your life will change just off of that revelation right there. If I could just get to the point and then you got to stay consistent with it. And that's why we saying that
continuing.
If you get to a point to where you feeling like you good, I done been there. Oh, I'm good. I know my word. I don't really gotta pray as much. I don't really gotta do this as much. It's stuff that God had been telling me to do. I'm thinking I'm good, and then that monkey get on your back, and then it's like, wow, I thought that I knew what I knew, but I really didn't know it. And now you in a position to where, okay, Lord, I really need you now, because I don't even know how I got here. But then if you can really track back, a lot of time is because of the separation of the word. Like, if you could kind of track back, you will be thinking, I don't know how I got here, but if you could track it back, you know how you got there.
And then, too, I'm just reflecting on myself of how you've been watching me study literally every day for hours at a time. And it's just like I'm building that knowledge. Not I'm studying to pass an exam. Mm-hmm. I'm studying so that I can apply these things throughout my life. Yeah. You know, especially when we'll be interacting with clients and I'll be doing therapy with clients. I don't want to study this stuff just to pass an exam. I want to study this stuff to be a change agent, to be able to bring change into individuals' lives for those who don't have that capacity of knowledge and education that I have.
Because at the end of the day, these people want to make sure that you're prepared when you get in the field. With marriage, you got to get prepared before you get in the field.
Come on, man.
I'm like, it get real in the field. That's for real. Like, yeah. To be in a marriage and to say that you want to be in it and do the things that God is calling you to do, that's you calling warfare to you.
Yeah.
It ain't even like you gotta be this type of person to where you got a ministry going on, you got all these great things. You can have a quiet marriage to where you're not doing nothing but just going to church and you trying to do what God telling you to do. That's it.
Yeah.
But I'm saying you still are calling things in the enemy to come at you because you're trying to do something that God is telling you to do the right way.
And I believe that too, because I just recently graduated in August of last year, and God had us to where I had been in school for 6 years, and God had us to become acquainted with one another. Not saying that we didn't know each other, but just think about it. I was in school for 6 years, and I couldn't give him nor our children my undivided attention because I had to study, I had to write papers. And it's like once I graduated, God, he was just like, y'all, shut down the clothing line right now, shut down the nonprofit right now, and y'all just love on each other and, rebuild, because what I'm about to do, y'all are going to need to have like a fresh wind. Y'all going to need some fresh oil, some new oil, a new level of love. And I can say that since I've been out of school, since August, like, God has just taken our marriage to another level. And,
Hey, don't get it twisted. Don't think that it ain't nothing happening.
Right.
No, I'm just saying, I just like to throw that out there because people be thinking, oh, y'all just kind of been chilling. Now, we've been working, we've been doing our thing and, doing what God tells us to do, but at the same time, that don't mean the attacks stop happening.
Right.
So I just want to kind of throw that out there.
But it's like how you said, though, when those attacks come, we can be like Jesus in the boat, like we, resting, like truly resting while the storm and everything else is going on, because we've been in that word. We've, been spending time with God to where we don't really got a trip. We can't rest. Them storms are going to try to come, but we still know how to rest. And I like the beautiful part about it is that God like clearly showed me like, hey, like you've been going for 6 years, and like just love on your husband on a different level. Just love on your kids, in a different level, because I've been on the go for 6 years. And I'm telling you, like, I feel so rejuvenated. I feel so refreshed. And I believe that when God launches us to do what he's been preparing us to do since August, I believe that it's going to be some strong substance behind it, because we've been preparing. Because there's a difference between being ready for something and being prepared. A lot of people are ready for marriage, but you're not prepared for it.
Yeah, that's for real. You can say that again.
A lot of people be ready for marriage, but they're not prepared for it. And I believe that God has us in preparation for what's yet to come, because he doesn't want us to be out there prematurely and then lacking the knowledge of things that we're supposed to be doing, because we didn't spend that it's almost like the student teacher, we didn't spend that instructional time being taught. A lot of people aren't teachable, especially when it comes to marriage. We had that talk today. He told me something. He was like, you just don't like for nobody to tell you nothing. And in marriage you still got to remain teachable. And I had to let that marinate, and I'm like, he right. Like what he was telling me was right. But there comes a time where some people just aren't teachable, and they're not going to admit that they're not teachable.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, at the end of the day, even through the course of our marriage, we're still, and like sometimes it ain't even that we learning something new about each other. Sometimes we just got to remember how that person operates, because you will get into your own feeling, you'll forget, like, dang, I forgot this is how my wife, I kind of operate with certain stuff. So it's like, hold on, let me kind of get back and be like, okay, let me get back with myself. You know what I'm saying? Because one of the biggest things that I learned about marriage is not really like holding a fence. Right. Like that was like something that kind of pretty much shifted our whole marriage to where, say we had a discussion or a spat to where we got into it with each other and had words. In the past, that stuff would have lasted a long time. You know what I'm saying? It's like we have to evolve and understand, like, we really care for each other, and we're not out to like get the other person or like, dude, I really love you. So if we having a discussion about something, it ain't because I want the worst for you. I want the best for you for anything. And like I think that the enemy comes in a lot of times, and that's how he gets into different relationships and marriages, because for that particular moment when you hit it, you would really be thinking like, is you really for me? And I'm like, dude, that person really care about you and they love you and they just telling you something for your own good. But if you would, like you're saying, you would humble yourself and really just take it in and
Sit
just
down.
think about it,
Be
you
humble.
you good. But you know what I'm saying? That's just an example of making sure, like how we saying, renewing your mind with what God is saying and He wants you to do, and how she was saying, okay, we kind of took a break from a lot of things, like we hadn't been doing the podcast and stuff like that, right? And so a lot of times people will put pressure on themselves to do stuff like that, and I'm like, I believe that God. I went through a season where God was telling me, like, don't uh have adultery, like don't do that, like with His church. Make sure that I'm loving on my wife and not loving on, not putting like ministry first and other things like that first, because I'm like, that stuff like that a lot of times can put a strain on your marriage if you don't understand when God is saying to shift and when He's saying to slow down and when He's saying to go. Because a lot of times we can get so caught up in ministry things and things that we believe in that God is telling us to do. Our spouse and stuff like that can fall by the wayside because we not, the focus is off. You know what I'm saying? And so we try to have that balance of making sure that we have a good time.
Because I don't believe that God will put people together or allow, I ain't going to say He put people together, because if it don't work, you can blame Him. I believe that God allows individuals to come together and become one in marriage so that, they can do it together. And,
I also believe that He do that too, because, to be honest with you, because we not just alike. It's a lot of things that got pulled out of me because God had put the level of love in me for her.
Right.
So there are a lot of things that I felt like I wanted to try to change for her. And then once I started really understanding, like, okay, God was kind of using my wife to help me to be more disciplined in different areas and knowing how to slow down in this area, knowing how to go fast in this area. So a lot of times He'll put that person in your life. It's going to be for His benefit. I'm like, me and her being together ain't only for us. Like, a lot of times you thinking like, okay, I'm getting married so I can be happy and I'm with my loved one. But a lot of times He got a bigger plan for that. But if your mind is so, just focus on, I'm going to get the white picket fence, we're going to get the big house, we're going to make the good money, and we're going to live happily ever after. And I'm like, that's like not even like, that ain't really even like the purpose that's going on. It's something bigger than that. And so as we continue to grow and we see the bigger picture, when we do get into the little small things to where my mind get to drifting, her mind get to drifting, we always got to remember, we got to do that renewing the mind tool. So, okay, boom, I got to start using my renewing the mind tool so He can go and pull me back in line and so I can get back to the purpose of why this was even put together.
Yeah, because I believe that that's where a lot of individuals have situations because they don't renew their mind daily. And I'm like, even in marriage, you have to renew your mind daily. You can't dwell on what happened yesterday, what happened 30 minutes ago. You got to continue to renew your mind. And I think that a lot of couples that get stuck in that spot of not renewing their mind. So then you get mad about one thing and then it compiles. And then there's a big explosion and then there's divorce because you didn't renew your mind with that one thing and then you let it grow into something else.
And I feel like, I think every marriage that went through something to where they can get to the point to where they feel like throw the whole marriage away.
Yeah.
I believe that every marriage go through a point to where they go through something, sometimes multiple times, 3-4 times, to where they get to a point to where they can just say, you know what, I done got to this point, let's throw it all away. Yeah. I believe everybody probably went through that point, but that's why I believe that with the right understanding, you can really, I believe with the right understanding, with the word of God, you can get through anything. And I'm just like, I know that we've been through a whole bunch of stuff, like for real. And I believe that it's more to come. You know what I'm saying? Just like it's more beautiful things that come with it. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to just be the bearer of bad news, but I just want to make sure when we talk about some of the great things that going on, we got to balance out and let you know that the trials is gonna come. That stuff is gonna happen.
Inevitable.
Yeah.
But one thing now that I'm thinking is like when you were talking about getting together, I don't believe that and you're talking about ministry, how a lot of people that are in ministry will put ministry before their husband or wife. And that in our house, that's a big no-no. Like ministry, like this is our first ministry.
Yeah, because I ain't gonna lie, like just me seeing that in the past with different relationships, stuff like that. I'm like that right there.
No.
It might be some other stuff I done done before. I ain't gonna lie, but that one right there, I really be like, I really don't want that one to get me.
And I just don't believe that he will put you in a position to where he will make you choose ministry over your marriage, because your marriage is ministry. Your family is a ministry. But I think that because of that lack of understanding and that continuing education and learning and studying the word of God, is that, people get caught up in it. Well, God is, like, I'm supposed to do this. Like, God called me to do this. God called me to be a social worker, but I'm not going to put social work over my husband. I'm not gonna put social work over my children. Like, God is such a amazing God that He will give you the balanced strategy on what to do in your life without neglecting the other things. And that's why you gotta understand when to pull back, when to move forward, and how to balance that thing.
And I mean, you may go through a season to where God is calling you to do something, and possibly your spouse might not know, like, kind of what's going on. But I really believe that as you continue to pray that He allows her or him to understand what you're doing.
Yes.
I believe in my heart that at some point they'll get it. I just really believe that they'll get it. I don't believe that He gonna just leave them hanging out there and dangling like, well, I'm gonna just leave you out there and you just dangling. Like,
and I can speak for myself. When God was sending you to, Chicago, and when you were flying and going places for weeks at a time, God was already preparing me for that. So when you was like, hey, this is what I'm going to do, this is what God put in my heart, I was cool with that, because God was already preparing me for that. But that's where that communication goes. Not only did we talk about it, but prayerfully, me and God was, talking about it. And I'm like, well, if God told you to do it, then go for it. I will never stop you from doing what God has called you to do. And I believe that sometimes that when people say God called them to do something and it causes conflict within your relationship, God is not the author of confusion. You got to really sit back and be like, did God really call me to do this? Or God, if you did and there's still conflict, show me where the root of this conflict is birthed from, so we can deal with it, so that we can be about your business.
Yeah, because like I said, I believe at the end of the day, like I said, if you are at a point to where there is some confusion, I believe that God will align it back right and put something on the other person's heart to help them understand what you're going through, and that you really passionate about what you're doing, and I just really believe like He'll bring some type of clarity to that particular situation, right, to help you out, like, right, I said, but that's all with actually hearing what God is saying. And so sometimes even myself, I be like, man, like, I gotta make sure that I keep my ears fine-tuned right to just pretty much hearing what God is saying, because sometimes, man, I question, people's decisions on, and even myself decision on whether I heard God to do this or to do that. You know what I'm saying? Whether it didn't work out or something like that or whatever. But, as I continue to grow and learn, I'm like, that don't necessarily mean it ain't work out, because if God told you to do something, like saying it ain't work out, you know what I'm saying? Right. Maybe it was something that He was just trying to teach you for that particular situation. So it's like always be mindful and just be open to receiving possibly what God is doing, whether it's the situation was a negative situation or whether it was a positive situation, because I'm really a firm believer that everything that happened to you that you feel like was a blessing in your life, everything wasn't a blessing. And everything that was bad that happened in your life wasn't bad for you in your life. Yeah. Sometimes some of that bad stuff blessed your life. I believe that a lot of the situations,
that's a whole nother lie.
A lot of situations that we went through in our marriage, some of the worst, I'm telling you, the worst situation that we went through in our marriage, actually on the other side of that was some of the best things that could have happened, because it catapulted our marriage to another level, because we acquired a different understanding for seeing the marriage. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And it was because we went through something that was bad.
And this is not even just typically talking about marriage, what I'm about to share, but it's a faith booster for somebody. Going through my journey of going to school for 6 years for social work, and just, how people be like, oh, sometimes your past haunts you. Many know that I've been married before. I was in a domestic violent marriage for like 7 years or whatever. And there was some situations that happened. Well, there was one situation that happened. And I believe that it was trying to destroy what God has already called me to do. And I think that going through all that it pushed my faith to another level of faith. But like every time it was time to go do clinical stuff and they run your background, it was always like, oh well, we seen that there was a CPS call, but there wasn't a CPS case, and I always had to explain these false, accusations or whatever. And then it was when it came down to applying for my license. And mind you, I said I was going through this for like 6 years, and many times I'm like, am I wasting my money getting a degree, or am I really going to be able to use this degree? And it was like, God told me to go to school. So I don't believe God told me to go to school to make me look like a fool and can't use my degree that he called me to use, So it's like when it came down to me, when it came down to me applying for my license, the license board had contacted me through mail, and I had to send in all kind of documentations of police reports. And what it was is I defended myself, but when all they saw was there was an arrest for assault. And as a social worker, and you're giving therapy, and you're going to have encounters with individuals, they want to make sure that you're not a violent person. And I was telling him, like, I'm tired of going through this every time they run in my background, and I'm getting these questions asked and stuff. And I was like, for a moment, fear tried to come over me and was like, I'm not going to be able to get my license because of this. And then, but I never spoke it. I thought it, but I did never speak it. And it was just like a battle with, faith and fear, just a battle. And we talked about, and we always speak like, oh, you're going to get your license, this and this and that. Well, after so many years of trying to fight this stuff, my background actually got cleared of all that. So I no longer have to worry about that when I'm filling out applications. Like my lawyer cleared all of that stuff. But I believe that being associated with the wrong individual on that magnitude, on that level, tried to destroy what God had already called me to do. But because God is so good, and he was like, I'm going to show you what I can do. He basically showed me what he can do, and my record is clear. I got approved to sit and get my license, so I can sit and get my license. We are not thousands of dollars in debt for school. I'm able to use my degree, but that was just God. Like, I think he was just showing me, I can show you what I can do. Like, yeah, you've been questioned for the last 6 years about your background. Even though they questioned you, they still allowed you to participate in these clinical settings. So it wasn't hurting you. But I just want to see you. Do you trust me? Do you really trust me? Do you believe that I can trump what these people are saying? Are you really gonna trust me? And then when I got that approval, I just sat in my living room and cried, because this has been a journey. Like, I've been going to school for 6 years, and in the back of my mind, not really knowing if I'm gonna even be able to use my degrees to the magnitude, to the full capacity that I can use it. And I'm like, God, he's like, I'm about to clean your background. That's done. License approved. That's done. What's next? What else you got for me to do?
Yeah, I mean, I had all the faith in that. So, like,
I didn't.
For me, like, I wasn't just really tripping on that, because we'll talk about it, and I was breaking down her the scenario of probably what they was looking for when they were gonna look at your stuff, and she didn't even actually have to go in front of a board and do none of that different type of stuff. They just cleared it, without even doing all of that. But I was just thinking, like, it's just crazy how she was actually called to go to school. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That was a vital piece of our testimony and our you know what I'm saying, of where we're going, basically. And so it's like, we learned so much over the last years, or 6 years, or however long she's been in school. Over all those years, we learned so much, and it was because she went to school. Like, that was one of the hardest things that I think I ever been through. Like, being in a relationship or married with somebody. Well, this is my first marriage, like, just being married to somebody, as far as like being patient enough to where she's so focused on, what I'm saying, the school stuff, and then I gotta, like, just be patient with that type of stuff, you know what I'm saying? And be like, man, this stuff is crazy because you put a lot of time into that. That's why when you gotta be with the right person. Like when you have a calling on your life, that's one thing that I know for a fact that you gotta be with the right person. Depending on what season your spouse is in, you gotta be with the right person because it's real easy for them to be locked in on something that God is telling them to do, and then you didn't get off because you might not be as focused as they are in the call. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So like I said, I definitely know that just over the years, like I said, for me, I had to be real patient with the situation because I would get off focus. You know what I'm saying? And God would have to get me back in line with the vision that He gave for our marriage. And like I said, I would get off because I didn't got in my feelings. And I like that's one of the scariest things to have as be in a marriage and then have one of the individuals in their feelings. Because when you in your feelings, them decisions can go either way. You know what I'm saying? Based off how you feel. Like, I feel like doing this, I'm gonna do that. I feel like doing this, I'm gonna go do that. You know what I'm saying? So definitely you want to make sure that you moving with understanding and what you hearing what God is saying to do. And like I said, I mean everybody human. I'm like, you gonna make mistakes, that type of stuff gonna happen. You gonna have little arguments here or there with your spouse and all that different type of stuff. Those type of things are gonna happen, but it's always, you already gotta remember how you gonna respond when something happened. Like I always gotta start thinking like, okay, once a situation happen, how am I gonna respond to that? Am I prepared for that? Because a lot of times you can prepare for a lot of stuff that you believe you're gonna go through. Now that's definitely something that's crazy. Like sometimes I be feeling like I'm prepared for anything and you come in with anything, and you come with anything, and I'm like, he come in with something, or even if God allowing him to, come at me with something, whether it's a test or something, I'm like, man, I was not prepared for that like I thought I was. So you definitely want to make sure that you continue to stay renewing your mind with the word, because you never know what's going to come at you, and you want to be prepared for anything, you know what I'm saying? Like, because you just never know what's going to happen,
Yeah, that's why, going back to the beginning of why we even came on Facebook Live, is like how we're saying it's time to become disciples of marriage. It's time to become trained, disciplined learners about marriage, especially individuals who are anticipating on becoming married, or you already married, or you engaged. Like for 2021, like really just like make that one of your priorities, to where you like, I'm going to learn about marriage, I'm going to learn about love.
And then, like I said, everybody, this is something I was thinking about. Everybody is not equipped to learn on the job.
Yeah.
I learned on the job. I'm just saying. I didn't know this stuff before I got into it. I wouldn't recommend it.
Right.
You can do it like that, but I'm just saying I wouldn't recommend it. But if you do, make sure that God told you to jump in it before you actually learn before it. Yeah. I'm just saying that would be my advice. But I would tell anybody to really take time to learn about marriage. I feel like you got a better chance of it lasting as long as it's supposed to last till death, if you have a way better understanding going into it versus you get into it and now I'm trying to learn everything while I'm in it.
Right.
I'm just saying, I'm pretty sure God will keep you while you're going through it, because He done that with us. But I'm just saying, you're gonna crash. You have a lot of crashes along the way. Like just okay, if I put my son in my car and just let him go, and then just let him learn on his own as he go, he gonna have a lot of crashes. He probably gonna learn on the way, but I don't want him to have so many, or have one that's so bad to where it kill him while he's learning. You don't want to have that bad of a wreck in the process. You feel what I'm saying? So therefore, like I said, even with a license, they don't just give you a license. There's a certain level of understanding that you have to have before you can actually get in a car and just be legal to do that.
Yeah.
And like I said, we're talking about the license, but with the marriage license, they don't really care if you have any training. You have to care about that.
Come on, man.
I'm just saying, like, when you really think about it, you as the person, you have to care about that. They, like I said, they don't really care about that, because to them, you can get married for a week and then come back and get divorced, and they ain't tripping because you gave them their little money. If you want to get married again, get them some more money to get you another one. They really ain't tripping on that.
And that's one of the license that is kind of like, yeah, whatever. You have a license, you're like you're a doctor and you have your doctor's license. They care about that. Matter of fact, there's malpractice insurance. That's how much they care about it. And it's just like with marriage, there is no malpractice. There is no type of insurance to cover all that. And that's why us as individuals, we gotta be prepared, and we gotta know what we're getting into, and not just getting into something because everybody else is getting into it. And this is like
really on the cool. I don't mean to cut off, but I'm just like, don't even really just get married just because you just feel like the big word is feel like you just in love and it's just what you're supposed to do. I would say you plan to do it, but have a strategic plan before you get into it. That's all I'm saying. I'm just like, don't just base it off how you feel, because I'm just saying once you do that, it gets real. Like, I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot to being married. I'm just like, I don't want to scare nobody.
Yeah, because we all for marriage. Matter of fact, we promote healthy marriage, organic love type of marriage.
I just want to be real with people. Right. I just want to let people know that it's real. Like, it's really real. Like, you really have to want to be married. To be married, when I look at people that have been married for like 30, 40 years, I'm like, them people went through something.
Yeah.
And most people look at it like, oh, that's cute. I be really thinking like, man, what did they go through to make it to 40 years of being married?
Yeah.
What did that brother do? What was going on in that sister's mind? Like, I be really thinking about that, because I'm like, we've been married for like, what, 11 years? Yeah. And I'm like, we done been through a whole bunch in 11 years, like, just 11. And you done made 40?
He say not 11, not 11, 11.
Man, years. But I'm just saying, but at the same time, it's a wonderful and it's a beautiful thing to be married. Like, it's one of the best things, one of the best decisions I ever could have made in my life. I believe that I am the man that I am today because of it. But at the same time, I just want to make sure and keep it 100 with people to let them know that it wasn't a smooth ride to get to where we at, though. Right. You know what I'm saying? It took a lot of learning, a lot of discipline, a lot of praying, and just and making sure that we continuously keep God first in our marriage. And like I said, the most important thing was making sure we understood why we got married, and that's something bigger than just us being happy.
Right.
I was like, once I knew that, I'm like, okay, if I got out of pocket, I'm still thinking. Or my wife got out of pocket, I'm still thinking. You know what? It's something bigger to the marriage than just us being happy. So if we can just get past this small season of us not liking each other and getting on each other's nerves, we're going to be all right.
Right.
And we done that again and again and again. And we seeing, it's crazy but it's crazy. It almost feel like, I remember at one time, it felt like I was never going to get it right. I mean, because we went through some years of me tripping. Like, just, she was tripping a little bit, but I was tripping. Like, two tripping. She was one tripping. Okay? So, when we was going through that, it almost felt like, man, am I going to ever get over this? Like, I really was feeling like, man, am I going to ever get better than, like, do better than what I'm doing? And I was like, at the time, I was like, man, I don't know if I got it in me, man. But staying the course of the path, continuously having the word of God flowing in my life and just in our marriage, and like I said, we getting a revelation of it's bigger than just us being happy. Mm-hmm. We are what we are today. Yep. Like, for real. But that's why when I see people that been in relationships and they be like, man, this been going on for a lot of years, but I'm like, man, you can still get through that, man. Yeah. I don't care how long. And then it was crazy because now this is what I want to get to. It seemed like we went through more stuff, more trials of years of that, and the little bit of time that we've been not really going through stuff, it seemed like little to me. But now the time frame is small, but it seemed like it's longer in my head. I'm like, dang, it almost seemed like we've been happily married for 11 years. That what tripped me out is the fact that the time frame of us actually being like, you know, lovey-dovey and it's stuff been more smooth and worse. It's that time frame is way smaller in that 11 years than it was to where I'm like, I don't care, and she like some of them time like, hey, whatever, hey, it don't matter to me. That time frame of years was way longer than the time frame of us actually like doing good and we living good, eating scrimps and everything like that. Like, that time was smaller, but in our head, how God was saying that He'll redeem that time. This, like, I'm like, wow, like, Lord, like, it really seemed like we didn't really go through that. So sometimes I have to really think about what we went through, so it'll humble me, so I don't be feeling like, man, we've been good for a long, long time. Like, actually, we really ain't. Right. We really ain't been good for a long time. God is so good, and when you engulfed in the real agape love, it just seemed timeless. Yeah. So it feels like it been for a long, long time. Yeah. But we was going through crap after crap after crap. I'm messing up, getting right, messing up, getting right, messing up, getting right. That went on for some years, like a long time when I really think about it. And you know what I'm saying? That's why I'm like, once you can get to that point to where God has you to where you kind of good, and you know what I'm saying? The only thing I would say with that is don't get so far to where you get back in those old bad habits because you've been feeling like you good for so long. Right. But like I said, man, I'm really thankful for where God has us, and just having this mind frame of being able to look back and be able to like speak about it, and you know what I'm saying, possibly encourage somebody, because I'm pretty sure it's a lot of people that's looking for love. They want to be married, but like I said, we just always want to share some of the things that we go through, that we've been going through, that we done went through, so it could possibly give you a little hope, a faith boost, and to keep moving forward and continue to hear God. Like that is the most important thing, because she could have gave up on me many a time and had every right to. Every right to. I'm like, I told somebody at one conference that we was at, I'm like, I pretty much done everything that you could think of for somebody to divorce somebody. I probably did all that. And she's still here. And the only reason was for her hearing what God was saying to do. Mm-hmm. That's it. It wasn't about how she felt at that particular time, because if it was about how she felt, we wouldn't be here. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I always say that you got to make sure that you're hearing God, even when the times get hard. Ooh, that boy put a rhyme in there. You got to hear God when the times get hard. Boy, I sound like a pastor.
Yeah, calm down. But but yeah, you know, and like how we saying, we just did this impromptu Facebook Live to kind of, you know, let y'all know we still here.
We back in 2021, baby. We back. Let's go.
Okay. Yeah. We you a distraction. But yeah, we've been working on some stuff, and you know, we're preparing for some stuff. So yeah, Ignited Swag is still here. Organic Love is still here.
We got some new stuff coming out.
But right now, you know, we just in preparation. We're preparing for some things, and we don't want to be, you know, do anything prematurely. So it's just like we kind of sitting back, but still working, but sitting back. We ain't on the scene just yet. But God, He gonna put us back, you know, in the forefront. To where, you know, we'll be able to do what we once were doing, but on another level. But until then, for those, you know, who shop with us, Ignited Swag clothing line, online store is still open. Orders can still be, you know, fulfilled. But just right now, you won't see as much posting about it, because God has us doing some things, and it takes us to be focused right now.
Yeah, I mean, we appreciate everybody that been shopping with us.
Yes.
Showing love and everything, you know what I'm saying? That it's still going.
Yes.
Like I said, we just not posting it as much or whatever, like how we used to, but that's still rolling. It's going to continue to roll. I mean, God got a lot of things in store for Organic Love.
Yes.
There's all of that. As we continue to get into this next year, we got some stuff that we got planned that we want to do in the community and different things like that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
God is setting us up to where we'll be able to be blessing people in these certain ways, that ideas that He's been putting in my head and stuff like that. So
right. So yeah, so we're still here. One thing that I just want to kind of say before we end this live is that we just want you guys like to be the best people that you can be, you know, and don't let Facebook, don't let Instagram, Snapchat, don't let all these social media outlets like cause you to be somebody that you're not, you know. And we know, and I'm speaking from a social worker's perspective, if there's some internal things going on with you, go seek therapy. Jesus ain't gonna be mad at you. Matter of fact, He probably wants you to go seek somebody to help you with those inner things. But
I believe that that's why He put people, kingdom-minded people, in them particular areas, in them positions. So therefore, you could also get a piece of the kingdom with doing that. Like that is something that I believe that God is doing. Because like I said, I know for a fact that she is called to do. Be in that particular field, and so like that's a piece of the kingdom that's gonna be infiltrating the social work world. You know what I'm saying? So that's just beautiful.
Just I'm promoting like it, childhood trauma, all kind of inner things that we can camouflage on the outside, but in the inside is something going on. Like I would really highly recommend you go seek out some therapy. They have what they call a sliding scale. If you feel like you can't afford therapy, like they will meet you where you are financially. They will set up something to where you can get the services that you need. And that's ethically.
Yeah. Hey, I just think I'm like, man, be yourself.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, like be yourself. I'm like, you do what you do, and I'm like, God see what you do. I'm like, don't like for so long. I just know it'd be a lot of people that don't do certain stuff because certain people around. I'm like, man, God paying attention to what you. That's the most important person that really gonna judge you on what you're doing anyway. But then we'll hide from certain pastors or certain church people because we don't want them to see us do this and do that. I'm like, dude, be yourself. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, if you like to have fun in a certain way and they might frown up on it, I'm like, hey man, that's on them. I'm like, you just continue to ask God to help lead you to take this away or take that away, what you don't need, and just keep your mind, just stay kingdom and just be like, you know what, if they don't like it, I mean, that's really on them. They shouldn't be judging you anyway. And if it's actually a problem, then you know what I'm saying, they should be praying for you anyway. But like I said, man, be true to yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Like you saying, be true to yourself and don't find you a safe place. Find you somebody that can pour into you and won't be your yes man, but will call you out when you tripping.
With the right people.
Call you out when you tripping, but call you out in love because they care about you and they don't want to see you down that negative road. And all I can say is that for 2021, just practice love, peace, and clarity. Get peace, get love all this year, and just watch what happens.
And I believe that it's some people out there that you might not go to church as much or whatever you want to call it, and I believe even those people, like God is really speaking to you to possibly connect with a certain person. Man, don't be scared. I'm like, the worst thing that could happen is they could say no. I mean, really, like if God is telling you to reach out to a certain person and you feeling them and you would like to have a conversation with them or chill with them or something like that, just because you seeing where they going and you possibly want to go in that direction and you feeling what they doing and everything like that, reach out to that person. You know what I'm saying? Hit them on Facebook and send them a friendly little note and just ask them, you know what I'm saying, can you connect with them? You know what I'm saying? I believe that where we are today is definitely because of kingdom connections, like the people that God has connected us with over the years. Where we are today,
most definitely,
it's because of who God has connected us with, and I'm definitely a firm believer that God just ain't. I'm just waiting on God to do it.
Right.
That we ain't just waiting on Him to do it. You know what I'm saying? So I believe that God has connected us with the right people, and they're helping Him get stuff done, and by being connected with us and vice versa. And so, like I said, man, them kingdom connections, that's a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah. So we not gonna hold y'all. We about to let y'all go, but we just felt the need to just really get on here, and just kind of share with y'all the revelation that we received up in here. So yeah, y'all enjoy 2021 and live it out to the max.
We'll go live again, and really on the cool. We got a lot of stuff that had happened since we really ain't been going live. But like this was just one thing we just talked about today.
Yeah.
But I'm like, it's a lot of stuff that had happened in our families and everything, and just to touch on a couple of things, we'll do that, and just hopefully this live bless somebody, and the next one that we do that they be blessed. We just hope that you heard something that you can receive and that you could take from it and be blessed by it. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's what it's all about. I'm like, it ain't about us being Facebook famous or anything like that. I mean, I ain't really tripping about being no famous. I'd rather be rich and don't nobody know me than to be famous and have a whole bunch of money, to be honest with you.
Y'all, yeah. So we gonna let y'all go. We gonna let y'all go, and you guys be blessed.
I be real. I'm gonna be real. She don't want me to be real on live.
Man, bye y'all.
In the